Okay, today is day 2 in powers. And what you did yesterday, just a quick reminder, was you'd have a number inside a parenthesis, and we'd put it to a power like that. And when you have a power to a power, this one's simple. It's just 5 to the second, and that means 5 squared, which means 25. This kind, kids always get confused on whether they should add them or multiply them. In fact, I'm going to change this to an 8, just to make it really clear what I'm going to do. I take 8 and I times this kind. 8 times 2, x to the 16. And the last one is this y is y to the 1 times 2, y to the 2. Okay, so in those kinds, don't talk when I'm talking, please. On those kinds, you multiply the powers. Okay? So, when do you just add the powers? When it's like this. Question? I'll pause for a second. So I'm back. This is a summary of this kind, you multiply them. This kind, you add them. See how the 8 and the 3 got added to make the 11? All right, so then sometimes to shake it up, we will mix them up like this. And then it's like, cool, which one gets multiplied and which ones gets added? So do you get that math has a certain order you're supposed to do stuff in? That parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. You've seen that before, right? And the parentheses are supposed to get first. Do you see there's this parenthesis? There's nothing I can do in it. X squared is just there. So the next thing I do, I got parentheses done, I go to exponents. There's an exponent right there. Is that the kind you multiply or the kind you add? Multiply. So this is x to the 6th. Notice I am not going to do anything. This 3 doesn't get to the 3rd. This x doesn't get to the 3rd. That they aren't in the parentheses, so they're left out. So they're still here. Now you put it all together, and do you see how now I'm going to add them? That and that aren't going to get multiplied because there's no power to a power. They're just next to each other. On this kind, you add them, so it's 3x to the what? 7th. Now, why didn't that 3 get multiplied by anything? Because there was nothing else like it. Remember how you only do stuff with things that are alike? Like terms? That 3 didn't have any plain numbers. There were x's, but there was nothing to go with the 3. Kind of lonely. Let me give you one where the 3 isn't lonely anymore. Do you remember these from first semester? You got to clump things together and stuff. So the 7 and the 3, they are like. So they can get multiplied. So 21 times x to the, very good. That is the same as x cubed. You are correct. All right, good. So notice, did I add or multiply? Power, power, power. I added, because 1 times 1 times 1 wouldn't have been 3. I added. If I had had a power like this, and let's say this is to the 5th, I would have multiplied. This would have been 3 to the 3rd, which means 3 times 3 times 3. This would have been 5 and the 3. That kind you multiply. That'd be x to the 15. All right. Now, the last thing I got to teach you is what's called expanded form. So let's start with something simple. Do you get if I say x squared that that's the same as x times x? That's what x squared means. That's the expanded form. And if this is called expanded form, then that is called exponent form because it's got an exponent in it, right? Well, there's a name for it. It's just in math we have names for these different forms. And you'll notice in the directions, for instance, on today's worksheet, it'll say, let me read it to you. Write out each in expanded form, that's this kind, and in exponent form. Okay? So if I give you a problem like this, 5x squared, 3x, y, that's almost expanded form. What part could still get split up? That part. So 5 times x times 3 times x times y. Do you get how I just made it even bigger? That's called expanded form. When you expand something, you make it bigger, right? So that's expanded form. But when you put it all together, it's called exponent form, or exponential form if you want to be fancy. Exponential form, we'd put it all together. This would be 5 times 3 is 15. This would be, oh, there's 3 of these guys, so that's x to the, what do we do to their powers? What do we do to these powers? We add them. X to the third. And the last thing is this y. Is there any other y's to go with it? No. So we just set it there. Can't be combined with anything unless you have a like term. This one is called what form? Does anybody in here have a short-term memory? What form is this called? Expanded. Very good. And this form, do you remember what I called it? It had an E word in it. Exponent form. Or exponential, but I think I can be fine with exponent form. Because see, it's got exponents. These, when they're expanded all the way, their exponents are just ones. So you don't even need them. See how that doesn't have exponents? So this is exponent form because it's got exponents in it. This is expanded form because it's basically just stretched all the way out. So now let's see if you really got this. Here is a problem like typical of what you'd have to do today. And let's see if you can write it out as expanded form. First of all, expand it out. Make it bigger. Don't have exponents in it or it'll be exponent form. This is kind of a mix of both. So you want to expand it first. Do you get that this is the part that had an exponent, so it needed to get broke up? So you should have said 5 times x times y times 10. Now, if you threw a parenthesis in, you didn't need to. There, that was expanded form. Okay, so now let's put everything together into what's called exponent form. But remember, x's and y's can't actually get multiplied. All the best you can do is stick them next to each other. They don't get put together as xy's or something. So put together the things that are alike and put it all together into exponent form. And Mrs. Nolan, would you be willing to come around and check, like I am, to check the kids, see if they've got this one? I'll pause while we check that. Okay, let's check ya. Expanded form was 5x, x, y, 10. And exponent form is these guys can go together, 50. These guys can go together, x squared. That guy has nobody to go with. You just put him there. 50x squared y. Raise your hand if you had that one right. All right, good. So you've learned how to do powers to powers, and you multiply that kind. You've learned how to do that those can't go together, because why? They're not what? They're not like. They're not alike. Yeah, they're different. And this, if I change it to an x, those can go together because they're like terms. And what do? Add them or multiply them? Add them. This would be x to the what? All right. And then the last thing you learned was what's called expanded form. And that's if you had this and you wanted to expand, you wanted to expand it all the way out, then that means 5x, x, y, y, y. That's expanded all the way. That make sense? All right, cool. So I'm handing out the worksheet now, and we'll get started on that together. Okay, number 1 says 3x to the 4 times, that big dot just means times, 5x to the 6th. Things that are all like, oh wait, first it says expanded form. I was going to push it all together, but first we got to expand it all the way. 3x, x, x, because that's expanding it, times 5x, x, 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 x. Whew! There, it's expanded all the way. Now that helps you to see that what we're really just doing is putting together things that are alike. These are alike, and now I'm putting them together to get that exponent form. 5 times 3 is 15, and a whole bunch of x's. Count them up and you'll know what it is. Yeah, and you could have known that just by adding these, right? Remember how I said on that kind you add them? There you go. So it all kind of comes together. You could just actually count them up. 4 here, 6 there, makes a total of 10. That should have been your answer for exponent form or exponential form, and that's your answer for expanded form. Get that written down quick on number 1. Let's move on. I think a few of these are too big for expanded form, so we're just going to do the expanded form on the first few. First of all, C is messed up. Everybody cross off C because it has an add in it and nothing else on the page does. It wasn't intended to have an add, so please cross off letter C as in cow. Why don't you cross off C, that one right there. All right, moving on. I'm going to help you with number 6. Sorry, why did I say 6? Oh, I know why I said 6, because E, which is what I really meant, has a 6 at the beginning of it. Okay, so letter E, get the letter E. And it says 6x squared 4x squared y to the third. You know what it's kind of doing? It's kind of testing to see if you get that those parentheses aren't doing anything. You know how sometimes you distribute on parentheses, but there's no plus here. That's really important to get. A lot of kids think you're going to go like this times this times this times this. That'd be so complicated. No, there's no plus in there. You do not distribute. So all it asks you to do is expand it. I'm going to expand it. 6xx, 4xx, y to the third. What did I just do wrong? On purpose, I did something wrong. The y. What's wrong with the y? So therefore, it should be y. Then, after expanded form, you put it all back together. Now, I think that F goes a little bit too bananas. The powers are so big. We're going to cross off letter F. So E is gone, F is gone. Let's just kind of get theme going. Let's cross off I as in ignoramus. So C's gone, F gone, I gone, and I think that's enough to skip. I think the rest of them aren't too bad. But there's one more kind I haven't showed you yet. I just realized it. And that's when you have variables that are on top of each other. Let's go do letter J together. Everybody go to J as in jalopy. And it says 5 to the 9 over 5 to the 6th. Well, you may recall that when they were like this, we multiplied them. When they were like this, just a second, mult. When they were like this, we add them. This kind you add. We've multiplied. We've added. What do you think we're doing now? Well, they're the only things that are left. We've already done multiply kind. We've already done add kind. What do you think we're going to do to the powers now? Subtract them. It was either subtract or divide. You knew that it was down to those two, right? So this kind, you subtract. What is 9 minus 6? So this answer is 5 to the third. Now I know some of you real smarty pantses might say, oh, that's 125. Awesome, but you don't have to say that. You can just know it's 5 to the third. How did I get that? Because I subtracted 9 minus the 6. So when there's powers divided by powers, you subtract them. So, go ahead. All right, let me help you with another one. Look at K as in kryptonite, Superman's weakness. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is expanded form. Remember that? It's 3 to the third, 5 to the third, over 3 times 5 squared. That's just the original problem. I'm going to expand it now. So watch. And actually, don't just watch. Copy this down for letter K. We're doing K. 3 to the third expanded form looks like that, doesn't it? Isn't that what 3 to the third means? 5 to the third means this. Trust me, at the end, this expanded form thing is going to work really nice for us. All over 3 times 5 squared expanded form, 5 times 5. There. That, doesn't it look expanded? It's bigger, right? So there, that's expanded form. Now, here's the cool thing about expanded form when you're dividing. Do you guys remember how you cancel things where there's one on the top and one on the bottom? So expanded form is this. But to get exponential form, you cancel off everything you can. Doink, doink. There's 1 3 on top, 1 3 on the bottom. Oh, there's 2 5s I can cancel. That one can cancel like that. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. Now look back at what's left. Do you get I got 2 3s? That's like 3 squared. Or what's even smarter to say? What's 3 squared? None. And there's a 5. Now, I've had kids leave that for the answer, and it's actually kind of right, but what's even smarter? Simplify it all the way down. What's it really? 9 times 5, which is what? 45. I'm okay with that answer, but 45 is even better because that's what it really is. That's really 9. That's really 5. So there you go. All right. So that's all I got for you for the new stuff for today.